keep on rolling this time. I don't know. I think I have to move nodes now. I didn't redo my worksheet, but I left off last time working off of. What was I working off of? The. I thought I was on one of these nodes. I think I kind of. Oh, I was on this one, I believe. I left off here. And then, so maybe I should go up to, I don't know, the Locrian now. Locrian node. Did I do the Locrian already? See, now I'm all discombobulated. Forgot which way I was going. That's too far up. And no, I'm not going up there. So I was here. I think I went all the way back here. So let's go down to the next string down, maybe. And what if I pick another A, just so I don't have to switch my screen again? So I'll pick the Aeolian on the fret 5 back in position number 1, but now I'm on the bottom of the guitar, which means I only have 2 quadrants to build from. That's going to be building up to the right and up to the left, right? And so that's going to be the idea. I'm going to start the what I call the lean forward, and so the third would be up here. Now, or 6, 7, 1, or it would be like way out here. So I'm going to pick the third basically here. Now notice that third, if it was like not crossing the fault line, like if I was up here on this 6, then that third would be up here. But now because I'm crossing the fault line, it's on the axis. So you might say, look, that's not going to be defined as the upper quadrant up here with the third in it, or the first modal half step, second modal whole step, third scale degree, because it's on the same axis. But I am going to define it as a lean forward, a reach forward chord, because I'm reaching up to this quadrant, because it would be in this quadrant if it wasn't for the fact that the earthquake happened and the fault line, this tectonic plate, shifted to the left, at least from the perspective of the node we're on, this node down here. So that's what I'll do. I'll try to work around the Aeolian. So we'll do the Aeolian again, but I was on the Aeolian before over here. Now I'm back on fret 5 in the collection of notes in the middle of the guitar. And so again, most of the time people don't build chords from the bottom up because it gets confusing if you count intervals and whatnot. So it's actually really good practice, I feel like, to do that, because then you're thinking about what do the shapes look like above it, how do I count the intervals, and how do I deal with this if I need to actually count out the intervals to prove it to myself or someone else that I got the right note, like Ara, who always argues with me. She does it on purpose. She knows I'm right, but then she like, anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. Let's not get into that right now. This is not time to get personal. But anyways, I feel like what we need to do then is count the going up position, and we also have the problem of the fault line being right here, which is closer to the bottom of the guitar. I'm talking directionally on the bottom of the guitar, right? Low strings are up the top of the guitar towards the ceiling, towards the floor. So I'm gonna go. So it's good practice to try to make the inverted chords with the highest pitched string on as your root, and then try to count up towards the ceiling on the guitar, which is down in pitch. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I think, at least. So that's what I'll practice, because it's my practice session, and I do what I want on my practice. That's what I do. I'm gonna try a joke. Let's try the quick joke. I'm gonna try to. So this joke, I'm back into the political stuff a little bit here. I've been listening to the commentators and whatnot, and here's my take. I'll give you my perspective. I got to give you my perspective on it, just so you know where I'm coming from. It seems like there's the left kind of cycles through their attack lines, and they're very coordinated. They're usually more coordinated, like in American politics. Like the liberals are usually more coordinated, and they all do this. They say the same thing, and they target the same catch line, and they call everybody the same thing for certain time periods, right? And it kind of goes the other way with woke and stuff like that, but it's not. I don't think it's quite as organized as the other way around. So for my whole life, it cycles through these same, I don't know, 5 or 6 things, but the cycle has intensified, it seems like, over the past 15 years. And there's kind of a question like, how do you deal with that, right? So the cycles include, they call you, they're going to name everybody, all their opponents are going to be sexist or something, like they're the patriarchy. And we saw that with the Me Too thing. Not that there wasn't good starts to that, but you see how it gets kind of out of hand, and then everybody's the patriarchy, right? And then that wears out, and then they just go to the next thing, which is usually some kind of ist or phobe thing, which we saw like in like recently. We saw that during the George Floyd and the Summer of Love, and now currently they're bringing that back in like new forms, it seems like, but now it's like Islamophobe and whatnot, which again is, I think it's kind of unique, and I'm like, it's new, so people are like, oh man, I didn't know that was something. So now they're kind of worried, like that they're saying something they don't understand about, different, right? And then if that wears out, they go into the phobes. So you're a homophobe or you're a phobe of something, which they expanded greatly to all these different things. And then when that wears out, then they go into the current form, which is everybody's a fascist thing. So that's where we're currently at. So now the target, it seems to me, all of the left is focused on everyone's a fascist. So then the question is, how do you react to that cycle, right? Because you could try to not say anything that is controversial, but that doesn't work because most people don't even know history. And even if you did, there's no way that you couldn't say something that someone could take out of context that would have been like some kind of weird line in the 30s or something about fascism or about anything about the South or any kind of racial thing. You're like, I had no idea. And then with the homophobe thing and now the Islamophobe, we don't even have any. Most people don't have any idea what is even a bad thing there. So then when you're told you did something bad, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, and then they get you in the sorry trap because you don't know what you're talking about, right? So that's the cycle that we. So it seems like you have to then. It seems like you have to then just explain explicitly on point what you're doing, and don't let people detract you from what you're saying, right? But you could take the strategy of like trolling, but the trolling comes in 2 forms. I think there's an honest troll, and then there's like the dishonest troll. And I think the honest troll, there's an argument for it. Dishonest troll, I think that's bad. The honest, like the example is Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk got in trouble because he made an awkward hand gesture, and they said that was a fascist salute of some kind, right? And so he was doing it on purpose and this and that. And it seems like Elon was, I believe him to say that no, he wasn't. He just made an awkward hand motion, which is quite common to put your hand out when you're trying to reach out to the crowd. So then if you believe that he's sincere, that he didn't mean to do it, then you would think the honest reaction is say, look, these guys are calling me this, that, and the other thing, and it's genuine to support him and go, that's messed up and whatever, right? Even though he's the richest guy ever, but still anyone's getting attacked, you're like, okay. But then you could imagine, what if, I don't think this is the case, but what if he did it on purpose and was trolling, but then after the troll, after they all come after him, he said, see, I told you that I could do the smallest thing ever and you guys would still come after me because you guys are ridiculous. It's gotten crazy because that's the target. I think that's an honest troll. I wouldn't do that because maybe I don't have the skill. I'm this little, but and I don't think Elon did that. But you can kind of say at least that would be a kind of I call that an honest troll, right? You're like, I just wanted to point out like the hypocrisy, so I did it on purpose, and then everybody knows what happened. And then there's the dishonest troll. And let's imagine Elon did the same thing. He did it intentionally, even though that's not what really happened. And then he got attacked. And then he said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about." Even though he did it on purpose, which I don't think is actually true, but let's pretend that was true. That's what I would call the dishonest troll, and I don't think that's good, right? I think there's people doing that. That's not good because that's the same victim mentality that we've been dealing with this whole time. It's like because now you're lying to your own audience, right? You're trying to get false victimization. That's like the Me Too movement, the gym girls that are attacking innocent people at the gym, and by doing that they're getting attention, but they're taking the attention away from actual victims of the real thing, and then now they've made the whole thing, like the whole movement's kind of a joke. It went too far, right? So they're doing the same. Like if you do that's what I feel like. I don't know. So I feel like there's certain people that are doing the victim mentality, which is a false. It's a false. Like troll. It's a lying troll. If it was a true troll and you came out and be honest, I was trolling, okay, maybe. But the false, I don't like so that's my thing. Okay. Anyway. So it's ironic that the rage bait doesn't work on fish. Isn't that crazy? Because you would think it's bait, which is clearly a fishing term, but rage bait doesn't typically work on fish, you know? You can drop a worm on a hook with a little sign that says, "You're a bass turd," because they're the turd of a bass, because bass is a kind of fish, you know? And that'd be really insulting to a fish, I would think. And every fish in the lake just swims by like, nah, I've seen your posts. This has got to be confusing for the professional rage baiters on X, you know? Guys who troll for a living, like Tucker Carlson style fishing for outrage. They must think they'd be phenomenal fishermen. You'd think, hey, look, I get all these people riled up with my rage bait on the X's. I should be able to catch fish like that because they're stupid. Fish are stupid. So then after years of success online, farming quote tweets, harvesting meltdowns, hooking strangers like they're running an emotional Bass Pro Shop, of course they assume real fishing, that would be easy. They're just gonna go right out there and bait the fish just like they bait the X people. And then they go to an actual lake, they cast the line, they wait. And the fish ignore them completely, like rational consumers looking for actual information. It's weird. And then you could practically watch the rage baiter malfunction. They're like, where's my engagement? Why isn't this troll calling me a fascist? Why is nobody screaming, for crying out loud? The lake of desperately desired fish attention is enough to send the average ex-rage baiter into a full meltdown. They came expecting to dunk on a bass. Instead, the bass dunked on their entire identity. Honestly, maybe we X-users should learn from the fish. Ignore the crap. Swim past the nonsense. And if you're gonna get hooked, at least make sure there's some substance on the line. Okay? A little substance on the line, a little bit of nutrition, at least, if you're gonna get hooked. Not just another piece of garbage blowing in the breeze or bobbing in the bog, pretending to be content. That's it. Anyway, I wrote a song about it. So this is the first time I've heard it. I just uploaded my script to the Suno. So let's see what Suno gives us this time. What do you got, Suno?
It's ironic that a rage bait doesn't work on fish. Drop a worm on a hook with a sign that says you're a base turd. But every fish in the lake just swims on by like, nah man, I've already seen your posts. And it's gotta be confusing for the rage bait pros on X, the ones who troll for a living, Tucker Carlson style fishing for outrage, thinking they'd be unstoppable fishermen in real life. After years of online glory, harvesting meltdowns, farming quote tweets, hooking strangers like they're running an emotional Bass Pro Shop. Of course they assume real fishing's easy. Then they step up to an actual lake, cast the line out with anime confidence, and they wait. But the fish, they ignore them completely, like a rational consumer looking for real information. You can watch the rage beta glitching out. Where's my engagement? Why won't this trout call me a fascist? Why is nobody screaming? The silence hits hard. No desperately needed fish attention. And the whole rage batter melts down. They came expecting to dunk on the base, but the base dunked on them. Maybe we ex-users ought to learn from the fish. Ignore the crap, swim past the nonsense. Choose peace over the bait. And if you're gonna get hooked, make sure there's real substance on the line, not just floating garbage blowing in the breeze, or bobbing in the bog, pretending to be content.
All right, it's a little too alternative for my taste, but whatever, Suno. I still think Suno's best genre is the country genre, but Suno keeps on being like, I'm beyond that. I'm too good for the country genre. I've moved on in my skills, and I'm like, all right. I don't want to suppress Suno from its ambitions, so I let it experiment, a little bit. You got it, but anyway. Let's check the tuning real quick. Mine tune. I should do this before. Need to do this before. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to be on this node, bottom, closest to the floor, and it's the Aeolian node. So I'm back in position number 1, right in the middle of the guitar, bam, and we're playing basically the minor, which in this case is A minor, because I'm in the collection of notes around the key of C, which I could find by picking that C at the top, and then going back to the A, so A minor, C major. I'm at the bottom of this shape, so I can play it all the way down if I need to, which is, I shouldn't have to. I don't really have to, but you might have to, because we often learn the shape from top to bottom, right? So you have to go, I got to go to the top and go, oh. Now I'm down here on this A. So I'm on the bottom down here. So now I'm going to build a chord from the bottom upwards, because that's going to help me practice my intervals and whatnot. So I'm going to pick up the third. I want to make an A minor, it would be called, but I'm going to call it a 3-note Aeolian chord, or an Aeolian 2-modal whole step chord, because it takes 2 modal whole steps to get to the last note of the chord. So, which would be 4 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 5th scale degree. So to get to the third, it's 1 modal whole step, which would be 1 times 2, which would be 2 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 3rd scale degree, and the 3rd from the Aeolian happens to be 3 notes away. So I also know that if I'm on, if it's 1 modal whole step, it's 2 modal half steps. So if I go 2 modal half steps plus 6, that would get me to 6, 7, 8. 8 is greater than 7. There's only 7 nodal points in the 7-note collection. So 8 minus 7 is 1. That brings me to the Ionian, which has a distance away. The first modal half step, full step, which is the second modal half step, 3rd scale degree, is 3 notes away from a minor node such as the Aeolian. So it should be 3 notes away, but I'm going above it, down in pitch. Therefore, it has a counterclockwise distance of 12 minus 3, or 9. So if I was to count up, it would be 10 notes between the strings, and then because of the fault line, it goes 15 going this way, and that would be it would be 5 and then 10 going this way, and then back to 9. So that's going to be my distance. Now remember, if I was over here, if I was not crossing the fault line, it would look like that. The fault line is between the B string. If I went down, the B string, the G string and the B string, or the B string to the G string. So I'm looking up, therefore I'm imagining, if this is my perspective, I'm on the bottom ring, I'm saying, hey, you're the one that moved, everything is relative in reality, but I'm thinking you're the one that moved. You shifted to the left, Ionian. You shifted to the left. I stayed right where I was, and you moved, okay? Don't try to tell me I'm the one that moved, because I was right here the whole time. You moved, and so now it's this way. But if I was on the Ionian side, then the Ionian's saying, no, you're the one that moved, and that's fine. But I'm going from the perspective of this one. So we have those two. All right, so then we need the 5. So the 5 is going to be 2 modal whole steps up. 2 times 2 is 4 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 5th scale degree. It has a distance away from an Aeolian or a major node of 6 notes away, unless you're counting up from the crazy Locrian. So that also noting that if I'm looking at the 5, it's going to be 2 modal whole steps times 2 would be 4 modal half steps. So 4 modal half steps up from node number 6. 6 plus 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is greater than 7. Therefore, I can take 10 minus 7, 7, 8, 9, 10 is 3. So I'm looking for nodal point 3, which is the Phrygian nodal point. I also note that it's 7 notes away. 7 notes would be the clockwise distance, though, and I'm going above it or counterclockwise, negative, in other words. Therefore, it would be 12 minus 7, or a distance of 5 notes away, and there's 5 notes between the string. So there's my little A shape down here. Now, obviously, caged people are going to say, well, no, that's just the bottom part of the full caged system from the top all the way down. We're just playing the bottom bit. Right? And it's like, yes, that's true. I'm playing the bottom bit. But sometimes you don't want the full caged thing. Sometimes you just want a 3-note portion. Because if I play the whole thing, then I'm playing multiple three notes, right? I'm just playing, there's multiple 1s, 3s, and 5s, right? Although there's only 1 3. It's kind of a problem. Or, anyway. But, so I'm going to play these down here. So it's inverted. So I would call that an A minor with, you might say it's a slash C, because the C is the lowest one. But I'd rather call it a 3-note Aeolian, or an Aeolian 2-modal whole step, and it's going to be a first inversion, because the one that's the 1 modal whole step up is the one that's the lowest note in the chord. That would be cleaner. So it'd be an Aeolian 2-modal whole step chord first inversion, inverting on the 3rd, which happens to be nodal point 1, the Ionian. All right, that's right. Okay, so that's so I'm right in my shape here, right in home. So I can obviously noodle around on that. I could try to do my half step on the whole shape. And then I can end on this shape up here, which is kind of nice. I can grab up to this shape. So 1 A shape to this shape. Shape to get used to. Okay, so then, oh no, I messed it up. Okay, so I have another 3rd, like up. There's not much else I can do. I have a 3rd, maybe another 5th back here. I could grab the 5 back there if I wanted to. So it's back on 2, right there. So I could try to grab that, but probably not going to do that. Probably not much more else you're going to do other than that. So let's do it on, what if I was on the collection of notes around the D? So if I'm on D, that would be up here, pinky on D. So D major would therefore be B minor. And so I'm looking at B minor. So I'm focused on B minor. This is shape number 1. So if I go to the bottom of it, I'm way down here. And so there's the A right there. So I go, okay, I'm right there. Shape number 1. And so I know this shape. This is my shape. And so now I'm playing in B minor, basically. It's my focal point. Usually when I play in this shape, I'm not thinking B minor. I'm usually thinking A mixolydian. But right now I'm B minor. B here, which is kind of interesting, right there on that open string. What if I was in the collection of notes around F? So there's an F top string up here. F major would bring me back to D minor. I'm usually thinking of myself, so I'm thinking of myself in D now, Aeolian, which if I was up here, this would be position 1. Would be down here on the 10th fret. So I can think of it here. Alright, so that would be right there, boom, boom, boom. And then on this position I have this open D up top, which is kind of an interesting one, but I'm way far away from that, so it's still going to sound funny. So here's position 1, there's that shape. Whoop, wait a sec, this shape. Okay, go to the next one. What about if I'm in the collection notes of G? Oh no, drop my pick. So collection notes of G, that'd be G major, go back to A minor. And so then I'm looking for, E minor, G major to E minor, open position. So I'm looking for then this one, which is right on the nut. So the nut would just have, so I'd be playing, and then forward it'd be G major. So it's kind of weird when that's on the nut to think about, because really, I mean, even though this is kind of like position 1 right here, I'm really kind of fingering more position 2, right? Because position 1 is back there, right? So I'm kind of thinking, when my fingers are on here, I'm kind of thinking of leaning forward in position 2, even though those 3 strings are right there at the back of position 1 where the nut is. that's kind of, you know what, I haven't played in A minor that much. I didn't really realize that thing, those top 3 strings. Like, I always thought I could play the open E off of everything. But I didn't really realize those top 3 strings are the E minor. So I can always just noodle up top and then play those 3 Let's try this one. A, if I'm on A sharp or B flat, that would take me back to G minor. So now I'm considering myself in G minor. So I'm at position number 1 on the 3rd fret now, and that's my main shape down here, position 1. There's the A down here. So now the thing that's interesting about this shape is that I have an open G for the minor shape, but these 2 are outside the collection. Oh no. These 2 are outside the collection, but what's funny about that is one of them is the major 3rd. So when I'm playing blues, I can go back and forth between that and the major 3rd. So you would think, like, if I did this and let go, that would sound bad for the most part. But it kind of sounds right, because if you're doing, to me at least, because if you're doing the major blues, you're gonna slide that bit up. So. So what if I dropped the 3rd, that would be, or I sharped the 3rd, it would be up here to a major shape, right? So I can go back and forth between those 2. Trying to mute the E. I don't really want the E to ring out, but I want that 3rd to ring out open. Now wait a sec, that's not the 3rd. What am I doing? That's not right. It would be up here. That would be the... let's say I add back to the collection of notes around the key of C. So here's C, back to A minor. So position 1, right in the middle of the guitar, fret 5. I'm on the bottom here. Let's add the 7. So the 7, if I add the 7 to an Aeolian, it would be an A minor 7. I'd rather call it a 4-note Aeolian chord, or an Aeolian 3 modal whole step, because it takes 3 modal whole steps to get to the last note in the chord, which would be 3 times 2 would be 6 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 7th scale degree. So we know that if it's 6 modal half steps, 6 plus 6, because I'm on node 6, would be 12. 12 is greater than 7. So 7 minus 12, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 5. I'm looking for nodal point number 5. So right there. And so then I could just have a nice stack. That's nice and easy. All right. And then, and so nodal point number 5. And it has a distance, the 3rd modal whole step, which is the 6th modal half step, 7th scale degree, has a different distance from a minor node of 10 notes away instead of 11 notes away, but that would be clockwise, or going to the right or down, and I'm going to the left or up, and so I have to go counterclockwise, which would be 12 minus 10, which would be 2, so negative 2 away. If I count that up, 5 between here, and then I have to shift the fault line back here to get to 10, and then that would be 15. But that's, let's get to the local counterclockwise distance. 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2, which is 3. So negative 3, and then 3, and then 2, right? Yeah. So 2, negative 2, and then 12 minus 2 is 10. Okay. Now, if it was here, if I was above the fault line, it would be up here. It would be shifted up to get to that node, which is interesting. But that only happens on that string. Otherwise, you run out of strings. So if I'm down at the bottom, then it's straight up the line. All right, so that would just be, boom, bar it. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, that's part of the big bar chord, right up top, big bar chord. Clearly it is, but I only want that bottom bit of it. If I did do the big bar chord, I would be usually grabbing these two, right, and then this one up top, and then if you want to reveal the 7, you drop that one. But maybe for whatever reason, I don't want the big, low, heavy Aeolian on top, and I just want to do that. All right, is that okay with you? Is that okay? Can I do that? And then I have... Now I also have the normal reach up here for the 7. So I don't normally noodle around on that high-pitched string at the bottom of the guitar. But if I did, it would be the same shape because there's no fault line between these two. I should practice it more. So it'd be like... grab that whole shape and do that noodle, which is interesting, because then I can end it off on the triad. So I can just bar that whole thing off, and I'm emphasizing the bottom 2 strings. let's try that on the collection of notes of the key of D. So D major is up here. That would go back to B. So now I'm thinking of myself as in B minor, collection of notes around the 7. So this would position number 1 would be leaning forward like this. Position 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Like if I count off the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So I get back up here. Or if I count it out the way it might be better, I start on the 6. I'm still going to keep it at the 6. 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? And so then I'm at the bottom. I'm going to add this one up top for the Mixolydian. Mixolyd. So I can do the same thing here. Same position 1. And now I have an open B down here, so I can try to say, okay, well, how can I work that into my noodle? I think that's the same note. These two. Let's try the collection of notes around the F. So F is way up here. I'm going to go on this F back to here, so that would be D minor. I'm usually thinking of myself in D minor with this one. So that would mean I'm going to add this note on top, and this would be my normal shape, position 1 up here, start on the 10th fret. So it'd be 6, because I'm thinking of myself in the alien note, right? 6, 7, 8, wait, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm down here. Here, which is interesting because you have the open D back here, so it goes D to D because I'm a whole because I'm a whole step up, a whole octave up from D to D. So it's kind of an interesting chord here. I didn't really notice this. If I play these three and then the open string, then I'm playing a D on the bottom, the triad, and a D on top. I've never really noticed that before. You haven't noticed that, you loser? I thought you knew what. Okay. All right, you may have noticed, you may have seen that before. I'm just trying to be honest here. I never seen that before. Let's try the collection of notes of G. So if I'm on G, that goes back to E minor, E minor. So position 1 is here, and this is where I have that open 3 back here. So that would just be all the open strings back to here. So that's just adding the 7. That means if I'm kind of leaning forward, this position, what I would think, this would be position 1, but I don't really think that way when I'm playing here. I'm thinking I'm leaning forward to position 2, but I have those, if I play the bottom bit, that's a nice E just in and of itself. That means I can play the top 2 strings and just let the bottom bit ring out as my tonic, as long as I get that one at the bottom, which I usually palm off. So if I gotta get that one to ring out. Yeah, whatever. I'm trying to do that walk back on the bottom, because I usually do it here with the D maybe. And I can do it up top with the E, but it's too heavy. It takes too much space. So I kind of have to mute it a little bit. But I can do it on the bottom string. I did the last one, let's see, A sharp, or B flat or A sharp. So that would be here, back to G minor. So I typically play this in G minor. That's the G and I'm in a minor. This is position number 1. I have the 7 up top. This would be position 1. Oh, I dropped my pick again. Oh, now it's gone for good. No, I found it. I found it. Oh, now I messed this up. What in the world? Where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. So now it'd be 6, 7, be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So now I'm in minor, and I've got that open G.